Hey everyone, ready to dive deep into the world of Logan? Released on March 3, 2017, this film has sparked endless discussions, and today, we're uncovering every thrilling detail. If you enjoy this deep dive, don't forget to hit that like button. It really helps us grow. And for more incredible movie explorations and hidden gems, subscribe to the channel. Now, let's unravel the magic behind this cinematic masterpiece. Set in the bleak, near future of 2029, Logan opens not with the bombastic energy we've come to expect from superhero blockbusters, but with a slow, painful reality. Hugh Jackman returns for his final outing as Logan, also known as Wolverine, but this time, the claws come with more pain, and the healing doesn't happen like it used to. Right away, the film sets a tone that's raw, grounded, and unlike anything else in the X-Men franchise. Logan now works as a limo driver along the Mexican border, aging, battered, and emotionally shut off from the world. Mutants are nearly extinct. The glory days are over. The man who once healed from bullet wounds in seconds now limps, drinks heavily, and keeps a bullet made of adamantium in his pocket. Not as a weapon, but a way out. He's not just physically broken. He's emotionally hollow, weighed down by years of loss and guilt. Hidden in a remote outpost, Logan is caring for a frail and mentally unstable Professor Charles Xavier, portrayed with haunting vulnerability by Patrick Stewart. Charles, once the most powerful mind in the world, now suffers from a degenerative brain condition. But this isn't just any illness. His seizures are dangerous, and they've already had catastrophic consequences. Logan keeps him hidden and medicated, trying to stave off disaster while waiting for something. Anything. Then enters Laura, a mysterious young girl with feral instincts and silence that speaks volumes. Played by the remarkable Dafne in her debut role, Laura is more than she seems. She doesn't speak at first, but her presence is electric, and when violence erupts, we see the shocking truth. She has claws. 2 in her hands, 1 in her feet, and she's just as deadly as Logan once was. She's his genetic daughter, created in a lab as part of the Explantion project, a corporate experiment to breed controllable mutant soldiers. She's the product of a world that abandoned its heroes and turned children into weapons. From here, Logan becomes a brutal road trip, a chase across the desolate American landscape, not toward a mission to save the world, but something more personal: freedom, sanctuary, and maybe redemption. Laura clings to the hope of Eden, a safe haven for mutant children. Logan, ever the cynic, believes it's a myth. But Laura's belief becomes a thread of hope, not just for herself but for Logan, too. Every stop along their journey reveals more cracks in Logan's shell. He begins to see more than just a girl. He sees a mirror. Her rage is his. Her loneliness is his. And in the quiet moments, the shared meals, the father-daughter silences, the pain, they begin to connect. The movie doesn't rush this bond. It lets it breathe, and in doing so, it earns every emotional beat. But peace is a luxury they can't afford. Hot on their heels is Donald Pierce, a chillingly charismatic cyborg played by Boyd Holbrook, and his Reavers, a group of mercenaries hunting mutant escapees for the Explantion program. Dr. Xander Rice, the cold-hearted scientist behind the mutant experiments, represents the final form of scientific arrogance. A man who sees children as tools, not lives. The horror becomes more personal when Logan is forced to face not just external enemies, but himself, literally. One of the film's most devastating twists is the introduction of X-24, a cloned younger version of Wolverine, devoid of humanity and fueled by pure rage. He represents the monster Logan always feared he was. It all culminates in a brutal and emotional final act. Logan, wounded and worn, injects himself with a temporary healing serum for one last fight. He unleashes the Wolverine we remember, but it comes at a cost. Laura calls him Daddy as he dies beneath the trees, his body finally giving out, not in a blaze of glory, but in a quiet moment of peace. For once, Logan chooses to save a life instead of taking one. His final words: "So this is what it feels like, cut deeper than any blade." Logan ends not with a victory, but with a funeral. The children bury him under a crude wooden cross. Laura, in a poignant and symbolic gesture, tilts the cross to form an X. It's a farewell not just to Logan, but to the legacy of the X-Men. A generation is gone, and a new one begins. From its first frame to its last, Logan breaks the mold of superhero cinema. Director James Mangold crafts a Western-infused character study filled with emotional grit and philosophical weight. It's a film about aging, regret, and the cost of violence. It earned a rare Oscar nomination for Best Adapted Screenplay, and it deserves every bit of acclaim it's received. But beyond the awards, Logan stands as a reminder. Even the strongest heroes fall. And sometimes, the greatest act of heroism isn't saving the world. It's saving someone who still believes in it. Logan hit theaters on March 3, 2017, and from the very first scene, it told the world this wasn't going to be a typical superhero movie. It was something different. Darker, quieter, rougher, and more real. This was the story of a hero who was no longer saving the world but simply trying to survive in it. The world had changed, and so had he. The film opened not with explosions or colorful costumes, but with an old man waking up in pain. This was Wolverine like we had never seen him before. And that's what makes Logan so powerful. It takes a character we thought we knew, strong, unbreakable, unstoppable, and shows us the man underneath all the strength. A man who is tired, wounded, and alone. What makes this movie extraordinary isn't just the action or the special effects. In fact, it uses those things very carefully. Instead, it focuses on emotion, relationships, and the pain that comes with age, regret, and loss. It's about legacy and what we leave behind. That's what made Logan stand out in a world full of loud and flashy superhero films. This was personal. It didn't try to be everything, it just tried to be honest. Set in the year 2029, the story follows Logan, once known as Wolverine, but now living a quiet, broken life near the Mexican border. He works as a limo driver, trying to save enough money to buy a boat. Not for vacation, but to sail away and live off the grid. Why? Because he's taking care of Professor Charles Xavier, his old mentor and friend, who is now suffering from a brain disease. It's cruel, really. One of the greatest minds in the world, now confused, sick, and dangerous. When Charles has seizures, his mind creates powerful shockwaves that paralyze everyone around him. Logan keeps him hidden in an old water tank in the middle of nowhere, feeding him pills to stop the attacks. The two of them live in silence, surrounded by dust and memories. There are no more X-Men, no more missions, no more team, just two broken people trying to survive one more day. But their quiet world is shaken when a woman approaches Logan, begging for help. She's with a little girl named Laura. She doesn't say much, but there's something familiar about her, something wild. At first, Logan wants nothing to do with them. He's done saving people. He barely wants to save himself. But when danger comes, and the woman is killed, Logan has no choice. Laura is now in his care, and it doesn't take long to discover the truth. She has claws, just like him. She's not just another mutant. She's his daughter. Created in a lab using his DNA, Laura is one of many children bred as part of a secret government program called Transigen. These kids were trained to be weapons, raised without love or freedom. But Laura escaped, and now the people who made her want her back. Logan, Charles, and Laura set out on a road trip across a dying America. Not for glory, not for war, but for a chance at peace. Laura believes there is a place called Eden, hidden in the mountains, where the other children have gathered. Logan doesn't believe it's real, but Charles tells him to have faith. Maybe, just maybe, this is their last mission. The journey is full of danger and heartbreak. They are chased by the Reavers, mercenaries with metal limbs, led by the smooth-talking but deadly Donald Pierce. These men are relentless, tracking the group through deserts, highways, and small towns. Along the way, we see glimpses of what used to be. Logan fighting to protect, Charles trying to teach, Laura learning to trust. But the world has moved on, and so have they. There's a deep sadness in every scene, a sense that time is running out. The performances in Logan are some of the best in any superhero film. Hugh Jackman doesn't just play Wolverine, he becomes Logan. Every line, every scar, every tired look in his eyes tells a story. Patrick Stewart is equally brilliant, showing a softer, more broken version of Professor X that we've never seen before. And Dafne Keen, in her first major role, is unforgettable. She says very little, but her silence speaks louder than words. When she finally does speak, especially near the end, it hits hard. Visually, the film is stunning, but not in the usual superhero way. There are no flying cities or glowing portals. Instead, we see empty roads, run-down buildings, quiet forests, and fading skies. The colors are dusty and dry, matching the tone of the story. It feels more like a Western than a comic book movie. Director James Mangold makes every shot matter. The camera lingers on faces, on hands, on eyes. The action scenes are brutal and fast, but never overdone. When violence happens, it hurts. You feel every slash, every punch, every scream. And then there's the twist, the one that breaks everything. The people hunting Laura create a clone. Not just any clone, but a perfect, young version of Wolverine. They call him X-24. He has Logan's strength, speed, and rage, but none of his soul. He is pure violence. When he appears, it's shocking. Logan has to fight a younger version of himself. One that reminds him of everything he used to be and everything he's afraid to become again. It's a brutal mirror, and the cost is high. Charles dies at X-24's hands, thinking he's talking to Logan. It's one of the most emotional moments in the film, and it shows just how far Logan has fallen, and how far he must climb to redeem himself. As the story nears its end, Logan and Laura reach the forest where the other mutant children are hiding. Eden is real. The kids are scared, brave, and hopeful all at once. But the Reavers find them. Logan, sick and nearly broken, takes a serum to boost his strength for one last fight. He charges into battle with everything he has left. It's not just about survival anymore. It's about giving these kids a chance at a life he never had. The fight is intense, wild, and heartbreaking. But in the end, Logan is mortally wounded by X-24. Laura finishes the fight, using an adamantium bullet to kill the clone. Logan dies in her arms, finally at peace. His last words are simple. So this is what it feels like. He's not talking about pain, he's talking about love, about being a father, about truly living. The kids bury him in the woods. Laura gives a short, powerful goodbye. Then she takes the cross at his grave and turns it on its side. An X. A tribute. A final mark of who he was. So why did Logan become a cultural phenomenon? Why did this film, out of all the superhero movies, leave such a deep mark? Because it wasn't about powers or battles. It was about people. It asked hard questions. What happens when heroes get old? What happens when the world doesn't need them anymore? What does it mean to fight not for the world, but for one child? For one last moment of hope? It connected with people who had grown up watching Wolverine, who had seen Hugh Jackman play this role for 17 years. This wasn't just the end of a movie, it was the end of an era. And it didn't go out with a bang. It went out with a whisper. A soft, painful, beautiful goodbye. Logan is more than a superhero film. It's a character study, a modern Western, a farewell letter. It doesn't ask to be liked. It asks to be understood. And once you understand it, it stays with you. Long after the credits roll. Long after the screen goes dark. It's rare to see a movie take such bold risks in a franchise that's known for big explosions and fantasy. But Logan took those risks and they paid off. Critics praised it. In 2029, the age of mutants has all but vanished. The bright, chaotic days of superhero teams and global battles are behind us. And in their place stands Logan, older, weary, and a shadow of his former self. Once known as Wolverine, the fierce and unstoppable warrior is now just a man. A limo driver in El Paso, working long nights for low pay, shielding his tired frame behind sunglasses and sarcasm. The claws still come out, but now they hurt. His body doesn't heal the way it used to. The sharpness is still there, but dulled by years of pain, regret, and age. We first see him passed out in the back of his own car. A group of gangsters tries to steal his tires, thinking he's too drunk to stop them. But they don't know who he is. Logan rises, stumbling, asking them politely to leave. When one of them pulls a shotgun, Logan reacts, but slower than he once did. He gets shot, beaten, thrown to the ground. And then, in a sudden flash of rage, he fights back. The claws pierce through flesh, blood spills across the pavement, and Logan's fury is unleashed. But it's not clean. It's not heroic. It's messy, brutal, and painful. His breathing is heavy. He limps, and just like that, the tone is set. This isn't the Wolverine we remember from the flashy battles. This is a man close to the edge. Logan lives near the Mexican border, in a crumbling, rusting plant far from civilization. There, hidden from the world, is someone even more tragic, Charles Xavier. The once great Professor X is now an old man battling a degenerative brain disease. His mind, once the most powerful in the world, is now unstable. When Charles has seizures, the world around him freezes. Time halts, people collapse, and the damage his psychic power does in those moments is terrifying. To keep him safe, and to protect everyone else, Logan hides Charles in a collapsed water tower, giving him black market medication to keep the seizures at bay. It's a life of caretaking, guilt, and isolation. Helping them is Caliban, a pale, albino mutant with a sharp tongue and the ability to track others like him. Once an assistant to powerful forces, now he's their only connection to reality. Caliban cooks, cleans, and cares for Charles during the day while Logan earns just enough to keep them going. The three of them form a strange, broken family, stitched together by survival. The world has forgotten the X-Men, and most mutants are gone. Logan knows exactly how that happened, but he doesn't talk about it. But even a life lived in hiding cannot stay hidden forever. One day, Logan is approached by a nurse named Gabriella. She pleads for help. She knows who he is, what he used to be. She begs him to take a young girl, Laura, to a place called Eden, a supposed sanctuary for mutant children in North Dakota. Logan refuses. He wants no part of it. His days of heroism are over, and he's tired of people expecting him to save them. But Gabriella is desperate. She says people are coming. Dangerous people. Men who will take the girl and do terrible things to her. Logan wants to say no and walk away. He almost does. But when he returns to Gabriella's motel, he finds her dead, murdered in cold blood. And the girl? She's gone. That is, until Logan finds her in the trunk of his car. Laura is not like other children. She doesn't speak, doesn't blink, doesn't run away. She's quiet, watchful, intense. There's something animal-like about her, a raw edge that mirrors Logan's own. But what Logan doesn't know is that Laura has claws. 2 in her hands, 1 in each foot. And when soldiers come to take her back, she reveals just how dangerous she is. In a stunning, vicious attack, she takes down trained men twice her size with ease. Logan watches, stunned. This isn't a normal child. This is something else entirely. And it shakes him. Leading the attack is Donald Pierce, a smooth-talking, cybernetically enhanced enforcer for a private corporation called Transigen. He's smart, charming, and deadly. He knows exactly who Logan is and doesn't bother hiding it. Pierce calls him by name, even refers to Charles as the old man upstairs. He wants Laura back, and he'll stop at nothing to get her. As Logan, Laura, and Charles flee together, a violent chase begins. Transigen's forces, known as the Reavers, hunt them across the desert. The tone is tight, grim, and relentless. Every stop feels like borrowed time. Every minute they're not found is a miracle. Along the way, Charles begins to speak to Laura. Unlike Logan, he's not afraid of her. He sees what she is and what she could become. Slowly, Charles realizes that Laura is not just another mutant. She is Logan's biological daughter. She was cloned from his DNA, grown in a lab, trained to kill, and raised in captivity. Logan doesn't want to believe it. He refuses to admit any connection. But deep down, he knows it's true. They make their way into Oklahoma City, hiding in plain sight in a hotel while Logan tries to piece together their next move. But Charles has another seizure. And this one is worse. The psychic shockwave he unleashes freezes everyone in the building. Civilians, guards, staff, all paralyzed in place, gasping for air. Logan fights through the field, barely able to move, dragging himself toward Charles's room. He injects him with the medication, ending the seizure and narrowly avoiding a disaster. The scene is terrifying, not just for the chaos it causes, but for what it reveals. Charles Xavier, once the moral compass of the X-Men, is now a ticking time bomb. And Logan is the only thing keeping him from destroying everything around him. It's here, in the aftermath, that Logan begins to open up, if only a little. He watches Laura, her quiet strength, her bursts of rage. He sees himself in her, his rage, his pain, his loneliness. And though he still pushes her away, he's beginning to care. They continue north, chasing the dream of Eden. But Logan still believes it's a fantasy. A place made up in a comic book, not something real. Laura, on the other hand, clings to it. She holds a copy of an old X-Men comic close to her chest, believing the coordinates are real. Logan scoffs, but Charles encourages her. Maybe, he says, hope is all they have. The journey brings them to a rural highway, where they help a family, Will and Catherine Munson, whose horses have gotten loose. It's a small, human moment. Logan helps them, and they invite the trio to stay the night. For once, they sit at a dinner table. They laugh, share stories, and pretend, for a moment, to be normal. It's the first time Logan seems at peace. Charles even tells Logan that this is what a life could have been like, that he still sees good in him. But peace doesn't last long. Later that night, a shadow enters Charles's room. Charles wakes, smiling. He thinks it's Logan. He begins to apologize for the past, confessing the weight he's carried. But it's not Logan. It's X-24, a perfect clone of Wolverine, created by Transigen to be their ultimate weapon. Younger, stronger, and completely emotionless, X-24 is a monster wearing Logan's face. And before Charles can react, he is stabbed through the chest. X-24 goes on a rampage, killing the Munson family, their horses, and nearly destroying everything in his path. Logan arrives too late. He sees the damage, the death, and Charles bleeding out in his arms. He takes him, barely escapes, and drives him into the night. The silence between Logan and the dying Charles is unbearable. There's nothing to say. Charles's final words are confused, fading in and out. Logan buries him in a quiet field beside a river, saying nothing. He tries to speak but breaks down instead. There are no grand speeches, no last goodbyes, just a man burying his father figure, lost and alone. And for a moment, Logan wants to give up. But Laura is still there, and whether he likes it or not, she needs him. So he drives forward, his body failing, his heart broken. Ahead of them is Eden, or whatever's left of it. And behind them are the Reavers, the clone, and the full weight of Logan's past catching up. The first half of Logan builds slowly but powerfully, drawing the audience into a story that isn't about world-saving missions or flashy powers, but about pain, connection, and legacy. It introduces characters who feel real and vulnerable. Logan is not invincible anymore. Charles is not the wise old leader anymore. And Laura is not just a child. She's a mirror of everything Logan has tried to forget. The tone is dark, heavy with silence and raw emotion. It sets up a story not about heroes winning battles, but about people trying to hold on to their humanity in a world that's already forgotten them. After the brutal ambush at the Munson farm and Charles Xavier's tragic death, Logan is left with nothing but grief, rage, and the deafening weight of loss. His mentor, the last connection to his former life, is gone. He buries Charles by a quiet lake in the forest, hands shaking, unable to say anything more than a few cracked words before collapsing to his knees. All the pain he's bottled up begins to surface. There's no heroism in this moment, just raw, broken humanity. Logan is exhausted, physically, mentally, emotionally. His healing factor is failing, and his body is slowly poisoning itself from within. Every movement is labored. He bleeds too easily now. He's tired of running, tired of fighting, and increasingly unsure of what the point of it all is. But Laura is still there. She watches him closely, eyes filled with things she doesn't know how to say. Her silence is no longer cold. It's heavy with grief and unspoken questions. She just lost the only adult who was kind to her, and now she's left with the one who keeps trying to push her away. Logan doesn't want to continue, but Laura insists. She shows him the coordinates for Eden, the place she believes will be a safe haven for her and the other children who escaped transigen. Logan scoffs. He still believes it's nothing more than fiction lifted from an X-Men comic book. To him, hope is dangerous. Hope is for people who don't know better. But despite his skepticism, he agrees to drive her there. They eventually reach a small outpost high in the mountains. For the first time in what seems like forever, there is peace. Eden is real, sort of. It's a makeshift camp where the other young mutants are hiding out. These children, all genetically engineered by transigen, are gifted with various abilities, telekinesis, speed, weather manipulation, but they're also traumatized, guarded, and carrying the scars of their unnatural childhoods. Laura is reunited with them like a missing sister, and Logan, for a brief moment, witnesses a generation of children trying to survive in a world that has already tried to erase them. Here we meet Rictor, a quiet but strong leader among the children. He confirms that the kids plan to cross the Canadian border where they hope to find sanctuary from transigen's reach. Logan, barely able to stand, is offered medicine and care by the kids, but his pride and pain drive him away. He doesn't belong here. He was never built for peace. And though Laura wants him to stay, to be part of this strange little family, Logan decides to leave. He walks away, thinking his job is done. But peace is never more than a breath away from danger. The following morning, the forest is filled with movement. Transigen forces, led by Donald Pierce and Dr. Xander Rice, the man behind the mutant experimentation program, descend on the camp. The children scatter, running through the woods as soldiers pursue them. Laura screams for Logan, but he's not there. At least not yet. What happens next is one of the most pivotal moments in the entire film. Logan wakes in a haze. The children had given him a vial of green serum, a powerful regenerative drug meant to temporarily restore his strength. He stumbles into the forest, hears the distant cries, and sees smoke rising. In a split-second decision, Logan injects the serum into his neck, and for the first time in years, he feels it. His body surges with energy. His claws snap out like lightning. His pain recedes. He runs, fast, wild, and deadly, like the Wolverine of old. What follows is a brutal, breathtaking chase through the woods. Logan slashes his way through transigen soldiers, clearing a path as the children try to flee. It's the feral Wolverine unleashed one last time, but now with purpose. Not for glory, not for vengeance, but for the safety of innocent lives. But the serum doesn't last. As Logan nears the end of the path, his strength begins to fail again. His wounds reopen, his movements slow, and then he sees it X-24. The clone. Stronger, younger, faster. The two Wolverines face each other in the woods, like nature turning on itself. X-24 is rage incarnate. Logan is willpower given form. Their final battle is raw and devastating. Logan fights with everything he has left, protecting Laura and the children with each breath. But he's no match for the clone's sheer power. X-24 impales Logan on a tree branch, leaving him broken, bleeding out under the tall pines. Just as the final blow is about to fall, Laura steps forward. She raises a revolver, aims it at X-24, and fires the adamantium bullet, the one Logan had carried for years, the one he had once considered using on himself. It tears through X-24's skull. The clone drops. Silence returns to the forest. Logan is dying. Laura rushes to his side, kneels next to him, tears running down her face. And here, for the first time, she calls him what he never dared believe she might. Daddy. It's not just a word. It's a release. It's everything she couldn't say, and everything he refused to hear. Logan looks at her, tears in his eyes, and tells her not to be what they made her. You don't have to fight anymore, he whispers. And then, with peace in his heart for the first time in decades, Logan dies. The screen doesn't rush away. The film lets the moment sit, long enough for it to hurt, long enough for the weight of his life and his death to settle in. The children bury him beneath a cross in the forest. They stand silent, unsure how to mourn the man who saved them. Laura steps forward. She doesn't have speeches or eulogies. She quietly adjusts the wooden cross, tilting it sideways to form an X, a final tribute, a quiet acknowledgement that though he ran from it, Logan was and will always be an X-Man. And then the children walk away. They head for the border, a new generation with no guarantees, but a sliver of hope. That's where the story ends. But the emotional weight of Logan's death doesn't feel like an ending. It feels like a passing of the torch. The film closes not on a roar, but on a whisper. And that whisper is powerful. It says that even in the darkest world, sacrifice means something. That family doesn't always come from blood, but from choice. That the stories of heroes aren't always clean, and they don't always end in triumph. Sometimes, they end under a tree, beside a daughter who finally found a father. Everything in Logan builds toward this. The early glimpses of a man who couldn't heal, physically or emotionally. The quiet bond forming between a reluctant protector and a girl raised to be a weapon. The ghost of Charles Xavier, guiding them both toward something greater than survival. The symbolic passing of the X-Men legacy to a younger generation. The entire film is a farewell not just to Logan, but to an era. The second half of the film is not just about battles and death. It's about evolution. It's about redemption. Logan may have spent his life killing, running, and hurting, but in the end, he saved lives. He made peace with who he was. He found love, not through romance or fantasy, but in the eyes of a child who saw in him the hero he never believed he could be. And that's what makes Logan not just a great superhero film, but a deeply human story. There's beauty in how the threads tie together. Charles's belief in hope, Laura's belief in Eden, Logan's belief in nothing, until he witnesses both of them. And even Caliban's sacrifice, while smaller, plays a role in their survival. Every moment in the film builds toward this final sacrifice. Every wound has a purpose. Every quiet conversation, every long stare out a car window, every painful step forward. These moments form a portrait of a man who was more than his rage. The pacing, especially in the second half, allows these emotions to land with full force. There's space to grieve, to breathe, to feel the weight of a life that didn't follow a grand arc, but still found meaning at the end. It's not just an end to Logan's story. It's a new beginning for Laura and the children. A suggestion that maybe, just maybe, the world still has room for something better. And so Logan ends. Not with a skyline or a triumphant charge, but with a forest, a grave, and a future walking quietly into the unknown. And for once, Logan isn't running. He rests. The film closes with silence. And that silence speaks volumes. When Logan begins, we are introduced not to a superhero, but to a broken man. Logan, once the unkillable Wolverine, now limps through life like a ghost of who he used to be. His body is failing, his spirit even more so, and his soul carries the weight of decades of violence. His story in this film is not one of glory, but of unraveling and, ultimately, of redemption. Logan's motivations at the start are purely survival-based. He wants nothing more than to disappear, to earn enough money to buy a boat and drift out into the ocean with Charles Xavier, leaving behind a world that no longer has a place for them. But even this dream is not built on hope. It's built on desperation and guilt. Logan isn't chasing peace. He's running from pain. The transformation of Logan is subtle at first, almost buried beneath layers of bitterness. He is angry, impatient, and visibly worn down. He drinks too much. He lashes out. He doesn't care about anyone outside his fragile circle. And even then, that care is mostly obligation. His relationship with Charles is strained, not just because of their past, but because Logan is now more of a nurse than a friend. He administers Charles's medicine like a chore. There's tenderness buried underneath, but it's wrapped in resentment and exhaustion. His love has become reluctant. Then Laura enters the picture. a mute child with haunting eyes and an uncanny resemblance to Logan in both attitude and ferocity. At first, he wants nothing to do with her. She's dangerous, unpredictable, and a painful reminder of everything he's lost, or everything he never allowed himself to have. But Laura, despite her silence, begins to chip away at his emotional armor. She doesn't ask for protection in words. She demands it with presence. Her gaze is direct. Her rage is explosive. And Logan can't help but see himself in her. The very worst parts, raw and unfiltered. As their journey unfolds, something remarkable happens. Logan begins to shift. Not dramatically, not with declarations or grand gestures, but with small moments. He starts to watch her when she isn't looking. He begins to listen more. He protects her more out of choice than obligation. And when he sees her smile for the first time, something cracks inside him. There's still good in him, good he had buried long ago. Hugh Jackman's performance is essential here. This is a man we've seen play Wolverine for nearly 2 decades, yet never like this. Jackman doesn't just act Logan. He embodies a man rotting from the inside out. His body language tells the story of a man trying to keep standing while the world falls apart around him. His pain isn't just physical. It's spiritual. His eyes are tired, haunted. And yet, when the film gives him moments of connection, particularly with Laura, they're so quiet and intimate that they feel almost invasive, like watching someone rediscover love after years of forgetting how. Charles Xavier, played with heartbreaking depth by Patrick Stewart, is another soul unraveling. The once great mind of the X-Men has become unstable, ravaged by a neurodegenerative disease. His powers, once a symbol of hope and strength, are now a threat to everyone around him. And yet, beneath the illness, Charles remains deeply human, perhaps more so than ever before. His mind may be failing, but his heart is still enormous. Charles believes in people. He always has. In Logan, he sees not a weapon, but a man who's still capable of love. And in Laura, he sees a second chance, not just for Logan, but for mutant kind. Stewart brings a fragility to Charles we've never seen. He is soft-spoken at times, manic at others, but always sincere. His moments of lucidity are devastating, especially when he realizes what he's done in the past. When he remembers the Westchester incident, the telepathic seizure that killed the X-Men, he is crushed by guilt. And yet, even in his final days, he holds on to hope. He clings to the idea that people can change. His death scene is one of the most emotionally charged moments in the film. Not because it's violent, but because it's intimate. In his final breath, Charles believes he's talking to Logan. He tries to say he understands, that he knows Logan wasn't the one who caused the pain. But the words don't come out fully. His trust is absolute, and that's what makes the betrayal so much worse, because it's not Logan. It's X-24, a clone. When Charles dies, he doesn't just take the dream of peace with him. He takes Logan's last tether to family. And then there's Laura X-23. She is the heart of this film in a way few child characters are ever allowed to be. Raised in a lab, trained to kill, and stripped of anything resembling a childhood, Laura enters the story as a walking weapon. But there's something else inside her. A soul untouched by cruelty. Dafne Keen, in her breakout role, is mesmerizing. She says little for most of the film, but her eyes do more than enough. There's no forced innocence here. No sugarcoating. Laura is dangerous, but she is also a child. A child who wants to be loved, who wants to understand the world, who wants to believe that she's more than her origin. As she bonds with Logan, we begin to see flashes of who she could become. She smiles. She plays with other kids. She starts to talk. And when she finally calls Logan Daddy, it lands like a thunderclap, not just for him, but for the audience. Because in that one word is every silent moment, every shared look, every near-death escape, every time he chose to stay instead of leave. Laura becomes more than a weapon. She becomes a daughter, not through blood alone but through choice, through love earned in battle. What makes Laura's arc so powerful is that it mirrors Logan's. She begins as a tool, something created for destruction, and ends as someone learning how to live. It's a story of humanity reclaiming itself from the brink. And it's told without sentimentality. The film never tries to make her cutesy or softened. It respects her rage, her strength, her trauma. It allows her to be violent and still deserving of love. Beyond the main trio, even the supporting characters serve a powerful narrative purpose. Caliban, the light-sensitive mutant who assists Logan and Charles, brings unexpected depth to the early part of the film. Once a hunter of mutants, now turned caregiver, Caliban represents guilt and penance. His devotion to Charles is quiet and understated, but unmistakably real. When he is captured by Transigen and forced to track Laura, his pain is evident. And when he finally turns on his captors and sacrifices himself with a grenade, it's not a grand act. It's a desperate, meaningful one. His arc closes not with applause, but with recognition. He helped them escape. He chose the right side even at the end. Donald Pierce, the smooth-talking Reaver with a cybernetic arm, is a uniquely grounded villain. He isn't seeking world domination or divine power. He's just doing his job, or so he thinks. He sees mutants as broken tools, experiments gone wrong. His smug demeanor and southern charm mask a deep cruelty. Boyd Holbrook plays him with just the right balance of charm and menace. He isn't a supervillain. He's worse. He's a corporate enforcer who genuinely believes he's doing the right thing. That realism makes him even more chilling. But perhaps the most disturbing figure in the story is Dr. Xander Rice, the man responsible. Makes him so terrifying. He sees no humanity in these kids. He doesn't hate mutants. He just doesn't care if they suffer. He sees them as necessary sacrifices in the name of progress. And when Logan finally kills him, it isn't just an act of vengeance. It's justice long overdue. One of the most powerful threads running through all these character arcs is the theme of legacy. Logan has always been haunted by what he is. But in Logan, he is forced to confront who he could have been, and what he can still be, even at the end. Charles tries to guide him toward redemption. Laura becomes the mirror of what he's lost, and the hope of what can still grow. Every relationship in the film peels back another layer of Logan's soul. He begins the film ready to die, certain that he's already lost everything. But by the end, he dies for something, for someone, for a future. The acting performances are nothing short of extraordinary. Hugh Jackman delivers what may be the finest work of his career. His Logan is not just tortured but deeply human. The pain in his eyes is real. The way his voice breaks, the way his hands tremble, the way he tries and fails to hold everything together. It's all heartbreakingly honest. Patrick Stewart brings a new depth to Charles, making him vulnerable, regretful, and deeply loving. And Dafne Keen, without much dialogue, captures a full character arc, from weapon to daughter, with more impact than most adult actors ever manage. What makes Logan truly unforgettable is how all these characters come. From the very beginning, Logan invites viewers into a world heavy with history, not just of the characters but of the stories that shaped them. The film is full of quiet nods and carefully placed details that reward those paying close attention, enriching the experience far beyond its surface. One of the first subtle touches lies in the setting itself. Logan ferries Charles Xavier to Greenwood Cemetery, a place that, while serving as a somber location in the film, carries deeper meaning. In the wider Marvel universe, Greenwood Cemetery is home to the graves of iconic heroes, a silent reminder of the legacy these characters carry and the sacrifices that echo through time. It's a place where past and present collide, fitting perfectly for a story about the last days of legends. The objects scattered throughout Logan's home speak volumes too. A katana hanging on the wall is not just an ornamental prop. It echoes Logan's past journey to Japan, where he first confronted his own demons and embraced a warrior's code. The presence of this sword is a subtle connection to his complex identity. Part savage, part samurai, hinting at the battles, both physical and emotional, that continue to haunt him. Even small details like Logan's dog tags and the license plate on his truck carry meaning. The dog tags remind us of his forgotten past and the man behind the Wolverine mask, a man fragmented by years of violence and memory loss. The license plate WR112, appears random but ties cleverly back to comic book lore, referencing a pivotal X-Men issue where mutants were turned into children. This allusion foreshadows the arrival of the mutant children in the film, especially Laura, making the plate a quiet, symbolic bridge between past stories and this new chapter. Laura herself is wrapped in layers of meaning. When she reads X-Men comic books specially created for the movie, it's a meta-nod to the fact that the X-Men now exist more as legends and stories than as active heroes. This plays beautifully into the film's themes of fading myths and forgotten heroes, reminding us that Logan's world is one where the past lingers in ink and memory rather than in glory. One of the most poignant cultural callbacks comes through the classic Western film Shane, which Charles watches with Laura. Shane is a story about an aging gunslinger longing to escape his violent past to protect a young boy, a tale that mirrors Logan in tone and spirit. Laura's later use of the phrase, "I'm not the one," echoes Shane's famous line, underlining the film's meditation on legacy, violence, and the hope for peace. These visual and verbal callbacks enrich Logan's narrative by connecting it to universal themes found in classic cinema. Music in the film also carries hidden meaning. For example, when Laura listens to a song called Devil's Whisper, its haunting refrain, "You better run from the devil," ominously foreshadows the horror that soon unfolds with the arrival of X-24, the monstrous clone of Logan himself. This kind of subtle foreshadowing through song choice amplifies the tension and deepens the emotional resonance of the scenes. The mutant children introduced in Logan are themselves steeped in references to the larger mutant mythology. Many bear names and powers that echo classic X-Men characters, like Rictor with his seismic abilities and Bobby, whose powers suggest a nod to Iceman. These connections are not overt but woven delicately into dialogue and background details, signaling to longtime fans that these children carry the genetic legacy of the mutants we have known. Yet they are far from the hopeful heroes of old. Instead, they are scarred products of trauma and scientific exploitation, highlighting the film's darker, more mature take on the mutant story. The film's villainous organization, Transigen, also carries symbolic weight. Its name evokes the dark history of mutant experimentation and ties back to key comic book locations like Alkali Lake, where Logan's skeleton was fused with adamantium. This gives Transigen a menacing, almost mythic presence in the story, as a shadowy force representing the destructive potential of unchecked science and corporate greed. It's not just an enemy group, but a symbol of the industrial machinery that grinds down individuality and life itself. Even in smaller moments, the film rewards observant viewers. When Logan and Laura are on the run, there are fleeting glimpses of old X-Men memorabilia that hint at a once thriving world now in decline. These relics tell stories of battles fought and lost, of friendships severed and hope faded. They underscore the film's themes of aging, loss, and the passage of time. Throughout the film, symbolism is layered in ways that reflect the characters' inner journeys. Logan's deteriorating body, scarred hands, and slowing healing factor serve as metaphors for his fractured soul and fading legacy. Charles's cognitive decline parallels his loss of control over his powers, illustrating the devastating impact of age and disease on even the mightiest minds. Laura's silent strength and growing voice symbolize the next generation's struggle to claim identity and humanity amid chaos. The film also uses visual motifs that hint at transformation and rebirth. The barren landscapes and dusty roads suggest a world stripped of life, but holding the possibility of renewal, much like the characters themselves. The river where Logan and Laura share moments of calm offers a brief oasis, a metaphorical chance to cleanse wounds and build new bonds before the final storm. In one of the film's most powerful sequences, when Logan shares a quiet moment with Laura before the final battle, he touches her face and finally accepts her as family. This gesture is filled with significance, symbolizing not only personal acceptance but the passing of a torch. It's a subtle but profound Easter egg for those who have followed Logan's journey, a reminder that even the most broken can find hope and connection. The final battle itself is rich with symbolic elements. Logan's last stand is reminiscent of classic samurai duels and Western showdowns, merging his past lives into a single, cathartic moment. His choice to use non-lethal weapons initially reflects his desire to break the cycle of violence, a personal evolution from the ruthless fighter he once was. When forced to fight with his claws, it signifies both regression and necessity, highlighting the tragic inevitability of his fate. Laura's use of claws in this fight is both a literal and symbolic inheritance, showing her acceptance of her identity and the painful power it carries. The fact that she is able to speak only at the film's end underscores her transformation from weapon to person, from silence to voice. Even the film's closing imagery is layered with meaning. The tombstone bearing Logan's name is not just a marker of death, but a symbol of the end of an era and the uncertain beginning of another. When Laura walks away with the other mutant children, it signals a fragile hope for the future, a chance to rebuild what was lost. Logan is a film that thrives on these hidden layers. Every detail, from props to dialogue, music to setting, works together to build a rich tapestry of meaning. It's a story about endings and beginnings, about the cost of violence, the power of family, and the enduring struggle to find humanity in a broken world. Just a superhero movie, but a meditation on. The making of Logan is as compelling and layered as the story it tells on screen. Behind its raw, emotionally charged narrative lies a production filled with unexpected challenges, creative risks, and moments of pure filmmaking magic that shaped this unique entry in the superhero genre. One of the most fascinating aspects of Logan's production was the decision to ground the movie in a gritty, almost Western-style reality. Director James Mangold and Hugh Jackman, who was not only starring as Logan but also producing the film, were determined to depart from the usual glossy superhero spectacle. They wanted a story that felt personal, raw, and emotionally authentic. This vision meant filming in rugged locations like New Mexico, with its dusty roads and wide-open skies, which perfectly captured the desolate, end-of-an-era mood. The landscape almost became a silent character itself, embodying Logan's isolation and decline. This setting choice also posed significant challenges. The extreme heat during summer shoots in New Mexico tested the endurance of cast and crew alike. Hugh Jackman often worked long, physically demanding days, enduring the blistering sun in heavy makeup and prosthetics to portray an older, worn-down Logan. His commitment was extraordinary. He trained rigorously to embody Logan's physicality, but also had to pace himself to capture the character's fatigue and pain convincingly. Interestingly, Jackman almost turned down the role of Logan after having played Wolverine for nearly 2 decades. He wanted the final chapter of his journey to feel meaningful and different. His insistence on an R-rated, more mature film pushed the project in a bold new direction, challenging the traditional boundaries of superhero cinema. This risk paid off, with Logan receiving critical acclaim for its darker, more human portrayal of a beloved character. Behind the scenes, one of the film's most surprising elements was the casting of Dafne Keen as Laura, aka X-23. Casting a child actor to carry so much of the emotional weight was a bold move. Dafne was relatively unknown at the time, but delivered a breakthrough performance that captured Laura's fierce spirit and vulnerability. The director and Jackman often praised her intense preparation and natural talent, which brought authenticity to their on-screen relationship. To deepen their connection, Jackman reportedly spent time bonding with Dafne before shooting began, helping build trust essential for the film's emotional core. The relationship between Logan and Laura felt so real because many of their intimate scenes were shot with minimal rehearsal and naturalistic direction, capturing raw, spontaneous moments. This approach extended to the fight scenes too. Rather than heavily choreographed, many fights were grounded in visceral, brutal exchanges that conveyed desperation rather than style. The film's use of practical effects over CGI was another deliberate choice that set Logan apart. The director wanted the violence and pain to feel tangible, not sanitized by computer effects. This led to some intense makeup sessions, especially for the character of X-24, the monstrous clone of Logan. The prosthetics and animatronics used to create X-24's terrifying appearance required hours of application, and the actor portraying him performed many of his scenes in physically grueling conditions. The resulting creature was both horrifying and disturbingly human, a testament to the dedication of the effects team. One of the strangest behind-the-scenes stories revolves around a particular scene where Logan drags his claws along a metal surface, producing that iconic, chilling sound fans recognize instantly. This sound wasn't created digitally. It was recorded from a real piece of metal being scraped by a blade, designed to evoke a visceral reaction in the audience. The team experimented with dozens of materials before settling on the perfect sound that combined menace and sadness, mirroring Logan's tortured soul. The film's score also contributed significantly to its unique tone. Composer Marco Beltrami crafted a soundtrack that blended haunting piano melodies with somber strings and understated electronic elements. The music enhanced the movie's Western and noir sensibilities, subtly supporting the emotional weight of the story without overpowering it. Beltrami's score was widely praised for its ability to evoke loneliness, resilience, and sorrow, perfectly matching Logan's internal struggle. Filming the emotional moments, especially Charles Xavier's decline due to his neurodegenerative disease, required careful sensitivity. Patrick Stewart, who played Charles, drew on his own extensive theatrical experience to portray the character's fragility with dignity. His performance added layers of pathos and humanity, highlighting the devastating impact of aging and illness on a brilliant mind. Behind the camera, Stewart worked closely with the director and makeup artists to ensure Charles's progression felt realistic and respectful. The film's darker themes and R-rating sparked debate among fans and critics alike. Some were surprised to see such brutality and mature content in a superhero movie, while others celebrated the fresh take. The production team stood by their choice, believing that the story demanded an unflinching look at violence, pain, and mortality. This decision ultimately helped Logan stand out, influencing how future superhero films approach tone and content. Another behind-the-scenes quirk was the improvisational spirit on set. Despite the tight shooting schedule, James Mangold encouraged actors to experiment and bring their own touches to the scenes. Hugh Jackman often improvised lines and physical gestures, adding spontaneity and depth to Logan's weary persona. Dafne Keen also improvised some of Laura's gestures and reactions, lending authenticity to the character's limited dialogue and intense expressions. The film's production timeline was tight, with shooting starting in May 2016 and wrapping by July of the same year. Despite the short schedule, the team managed to capture a rich, detailed world full of emotional nuance. The editing process further shaped the final story, with the filmmakers making tough decisions about which scenes to keep or trim to maintain the movie's intense pace and focus. An unexpected controversy arose around the film's marketing. Some early trailers downplayed the R-rated, gritty tone, leading to surprise among viewers expecting a traditional superhero action movie. This mismatch in marketing caused some confusion but ultimately underscored the film's unique position within the genre. Fox, the studio behind the film, embraced the mature direction as a way to differentiate Logan from the crowded superhero landscape. The production also embraced practical stunts wherever possible. Many of the car chases and fight scenes were filmed with real stunt performers, using practical effects instead of CGI. This approach created a palpable sense of danger and immediacy on screen. One memorable stunt involved a pickup truck barreling off a cliff, executed with precision timing and practical effects to capture the raw impact. Beyond the action, the film's makeup and costume departments crafted subtle but powerful visuals. Logan's graying hair and beard, his worn leather jacket, and the scars that crisscross his body all contributed to a visual story of a man beaten down by life. These details weren't merely cosmetic. They told a story themselves, highlighting the passage of time and the weight of past battles. From the very opening scene of Logan, the film sets a tone of raw vulnerability that immediately grips the audience. Watching an older, worn-down Logan driving through the barren landscape, trying to hold onto fragments of a life slipping away, invites viewers into a story far removed from the usual superhero bravado. This initial moment is not just a scene. It's a profound statement about mortality, weariness, and the cost of a lifetime spent fighting. The cracked windshield and the slow, deliberate movements of Logan carry symbolic weight, reflecting the fractured nature of his existence. Audiences responded powerfully to this vulnerability because it humanizes a character who, until now, had often been portrayed as nearly indestructible. One of the film's most impactful sequences comes shortly after, when Logan visits Charles Xavier. Here, the emotional depth becomes almost unbearable. Charles, once a brilliant and powerful mind, is now a fragile old man suffering from a degenerative brain disease that makes his telepathic powers dangerously uncontrollable. The scene where Charles tries desperately to hold himself together, then suddenly loses control, is charged with heartbreaking intensity. It conveys the tragic reality of illness, not just to Charles but to anyone who has witnessed a loved one fade. Patrick Stewart's performance here is masterful. His gentle voice and trembling hands evoke empathy and sorrow. This moment deepens the film's themes of aging and loss, showing that even the mightiest heroes are not immune to decline. Audiences found this scene incredibly moving, as it elevated the superhero genre into a poignant exploration of human frailty. The introduction of Laura, the young mutant girl, adds another layer of emotional complexity. From her first silent, fierce appearance, the relationship between Logan and Laura unfolds slowly but intensely. The scene where Laura first uses her claws in self-defense shocks both Logan and viewers, revealing her deadly potential. Yet beneath the violence, there is a clear yearning for connection and protection. Their bond becomes the heart of the film, an imperfect but deeply real family forming in the midst of chaos. The quiet moments they share, such as sitting by the campfire or the brief respite on the riverbank, stand out for their tenderness amid brutality. These scenes resonate because they remind us of the simple human need for companionship and understanding, even in the darkest times. Another critical moment arrives when Logan confronts the consequences of his past. The visit to the smelting plant, where he hopes to find answers about the mutant children, is charged with a sense of desperation and determination. Here, the film blends action with emotional revelation. Logan's fight against X-24, the younger, more ruthless clone of himself, becomes more than a physical battle. It's a confrontation with his own shadow. The choreography of this fight is brutal and raw, emphasizing the stakes on a deeply personal level. It's not just survival but reckoning. Viewers were drawn to this scene because it encapsulates the film's themes of identity, redemption, and the inescapable nature of the past. The film's climax, set in a remote forest, delivers a powerful mix of sacrifice, hope, and closure. Logan's last stand against overwhelming odds feels both inevitable and heroic. What makes this scene stand out is the emotional weight layered into every action. Logan's decision to initially use non-lethal weapons reflects his desire to break free from cycles of violence, signaling personal growth. Yet when forced into brutal combat, his fury and pain resonate deeply with audiences who have witnessed his long journey. The choreography, combined with intense close-ups of sweat, blood, and strained expressions, pulls viewers into the visceral reality of the fight. Simultaneously, Laura's emergence as a warrior and her first spoken words, "I'm not the one," mark a turning point in the narrative. This phrase is rich with meaning, echoing the film's repeated themes of choice, legacy, and identity. It signifies Laura stepping out of Logan's shadow to forge her own path. The audience's reaction to this moment was overwhelmingly emotional, as it represents hope amid despair and the passing of the torch to a new generation. The film's quieter, more intimate scenes also contribute significantly to its lasting impact. The moments where Logan and Charles share memories, or where Logan expresses his longing for peace, create a reflective space within the narrative. These scenes slow down the pacing just enough to give audiences room to absorb the weight of the story. They elevate Logan beyond an action film, making it a meditation on regret, love, and the desire for redemption. Another standout moment is the graveyard scene near the film's end, where Laura buries Logan and marks his grave with a simple tombstone. This scene carries immense symbolic power. It represents not only the physical death of a hero but the end of an era for mutants. The quiet grief and respect shown by Laura and the children emphasize the theme of legacy, how the past shapes the future. For many viewers, this scene was profoundly cathartic, offering closure while opening the door for new stories. Throughout the film, the use of subtle visual storytelling enhances the emotional impact. Close-ups of worn hands, lingering shots of empty roads, and the muted color palette all contribute to the somber mood. These artistic choices reinforce the themes of decay, survival, and hope without the need for heavy exposition. Critics and fans alike praised this visual restraint, noting how it deepened the immersive experience. The film's emotional intensity is further heightened by its soundtrack, which gently underscores key scenes without overpowering them. The music's quiet melancholy blends seamlessly with the narrative, allowing moments of silence to speak volumes. This careful balance between sound and silence helps audiences connect more deeply with the characters' inner worlds. Moreover, Logan challenges traditional superhero narratives by focusing on flawed, vulnerable characters. Instead of a perfect hero, we see a man haunted by past mistakes and physical limitations. This approach resonated strongly with audiences craving more nuanced storytelling. The film's critical success reflects how these key moments, both explosive and tender, crafted a richly layered portrait of heroism and humanity. In the broader cultural context, Logan's key scenes sparked conversations about aging, illness, and the cost of violence. The film didn't just entertain. It provoked reflection on what it means to grow old, to face loss, and to find meaning in the end. This thematic depth, combined with memorable performances, made the movie an unforgettable experience for many viewers. Ultimately, every pivotal moment in Logan works together to create a narrative that is as emotionally compelling as it is thrilling. The blend of action, heart, and philosophical questions about legacy and identity ensures the film lingers in the minds of audiences long after watching. It is these moments, the quiet and the violent, the painful and the hopeful, that define Logan as a powerful, transformative chapter in superhero cinema. From the very first frame of Logan, the film signals that this isn't your typical superhero story. Instead, it's a meditation on pain, survival, and the search for meaning in a world that feels harsh and unyielding. At its core, Logan is about the inevitability of change and the human struggle to come to terms with it, a theme that resonates far beyond the borders of its mutant-filled universe. One of the most profound themes running through the film is mortality. Logan, once seemingly immortal and invincible, is now aging, weakened, and haunted by decades of violence. His slowed reflexes, aching body, and fading healing ability mirror the universal human experience of decline. This vulnerability strips away the usual superhero facade, revealing a man grappling with his own fragility. The film doesn't shy away from showing the physical and emotional toll of a life spent fighting, making the theme of mortality unavoidable and deeply affecting. It invites the audience to consider their own fears and acceptance of aging and death. Alongside mortality, Logan explores the theme of legacy. Throughout the story, Logan wrestles with the idea of what he will leave behind, whether his violent past defines him or if there's a chance for something better. This struggle is embodied in his relationship with Laura, the young mutant who represents hope and the possibility of renewal. Laura is more than just a daughter figure. She symbolizes the next generation that might break free from cycles of violence and pain. The film asks whether one can change their destiny or if the past inevitably shapes the future. This tension gives the story emotional weight and universal appeal. The theme of family also permeates the narrative. Logan redefines family beyond blood ties, showing it as a fragile, chosen bond forged through trust, sacrifice, and shared suffering. Logan, Charles, and Laura form an unlikely family unit, each broken in their own way but finding solace in each other. Their interactions are marked by moments of tenderness, frustration, and love that feel genuine and grounded. This depiction of family challenges traditional superhero tropes, making their connections feel more real and relatable. Symbolism enriches the film's storytelling, giving depth to its themes. One striking symbol is the dusty, barren landscape where much of the film takes place. This harsh, empty environment reflects Logan's internal desolation and the broader extinction of mutants. The landscape's desolation underscores the film's meditation on endings, both personal and species-wide. It also echoes classic westerns, a genre that Logan consciously draws upon to frame its story about a lone warrior's final journey. Logan's claws themselves carry symbolic meaning. Once tools of violence and survival, they now represent both his power and burden. When he hesitates to use them, It signifies his desire to break free from his violent nature and seek peace. The claws are a double-edged symbol, protecting life while reminding him of past bloodshed. This duality captures the internal conflict driving the character and the film's broader questions about identity and redemption. Charles Xavier's deteriorating mind is another powerful symbol. His illness and uncontrollable powers illustrate the destructive potential of great power left unchecked. At the same time, his vulnerability humanizes him, showing the fragility beneath the legendary figure. Charles's condition serves as a metaphor for diseases like Alzheimer's, reflecting the painful loss of self and control. It adds a layer of social commentary about how society treats illness and the elderly, urging empathy and understanding. On a broader scale, Logan reflects real-world societal issues, particularly those concerning marginalized communities and systemic oppression. The mutant children in the film are hunted and exploited, mirroring historical and ongoing injustices faced by minority groups. Their struggle for survival and freedom echoes themes of displacement, persecution, and the fight for identity. The film subtly critiques systems of power that seek to control and suppress difference, making the mutant metaphor a lens to explore discrimination and human rights. The corporate entity behind the creation of the mutant children symbolizes the dangers of unchecked scientific experimentation and corporate greed. This critique ties into contemporary fears about ethics in technology, cloning, and genetic manipulation. The film raises questions about the consequences of playing God and commodifying life, warning against losing humanity in the pursuit of profit and control. Another layer of social commentary appears through the film's depiction of aging and illness. By showing beloved characters in decline, Logan confronts cultural tendencies to sideline and forget the elderly. The film honors the dignity of its aging heroes, suggesting that their stories and struggles remain vital and worthy of attention. This theme challenges Hollywood's usual youth-centric narratives and offers a poignant reflection on respect and care across generations. The motif of escape and refuge is woven throughout the story. The characters are constantly searching for a safe haven, a place where they can live free from fear and violence. This quest mirrors the universal human desire for safety and belonging, especially for those facing persecution or displacement. The film's conclusion, with the surviving children moving toward a hopeful future, reinforces the theme of resilience and the enduring human spirit. Throughout the narrative, silence and restraint also function as thematic devices. The film often lets quiet moments speak louder than words, allowing audiences to sit with the weight of loss and hope. This storytelling choice mirrors real-life moments of grief and connection, making the film's emotional beats more authentic and impactful. In summary, Logan is a richly layered film that uses its characters and story to explore themes of mortality, legacy, family, and social justice. Its symbolic elements, from the barren landscapes to the claws and Charles's condition, serve as powerful visual metaphors that deepen the narrative. At the same time, the film reflects real-world issues like marginalization, aging, and ethical dilemmas in science, grounding its superhero story in human experience. This seamless blending of action and meaning is what makes Logan not just entertaining but profoundly resonant, inviting viewers to reflect on life, loss, and hope long after the credits roll. From the moment Logan began filming, the chemistry between the lead actors became one of the film's defining strengths, infusing every scene with authenticity and emotional depth. Hugh Jackman's final outing as the iconic Wolverine was charged with a palpable sense of farewell, and this emotional undercurrent carried through to his interactions with co-stars Patrick Stewart and Dafne Keen. The way these three performers connected on screen brought a rare intimacy to a genre often dominated by spectacle. Hugh Jackman, having embodied Wolverine for nearly 2 decades, approached this film with a vulnerability that felt new yet perfectly earned. His portrayal here strips away the invincibility fans had grown accustomed to, revealing a weary, haunted man. This transformation was made even more convincing by the genuine rapport Jackman shared with Patrick Stewart, who reprised his role as Charles Xavier with a depth of emotion rarely seen in previous films. Their scenes together crackle with unspoken history and profound sadness, creating moments that linger long after the screen fades to black. The introduction of Dafne Keen as Laura X-23, brought fresh energy to the set and story. Though young and relatively new to acting, Keen's fierce yet nuanced performance surprised many, establishing an immediate and believable bond with Jackman. Their dynamic, at times tender and at others fiercely protective, felt like a real father-daughter relationship shaped by trauma and hope. Off-screen, Jackman reportedly took on a mentor role, helping Keen navigate the intensity of filming while fostering a safe, supportive environment. This camaraderie translated beautifully to the screen, allowing audiences to feel the emotional stakes in their relationship deeply. Behind the scenes, the cast and crew often spoke about the collaborative atmosphere that set Logan apart from typical blockbuster productions. Director James Mangold's approach emphasized character-driven storytelling, encouraging actors to delve deeply into their roles and explore the emotional landscape of the film. This focus on authenticity over flashy effects created a unique energy on set, where the cast felt empowered to take risks and bring vulnerability to a genre that doesn't always prioritize it. The sense of working toward a meaningful final chapter for these characters infused every scene with urgency and care. The physicality required for the film's intense action scenes also fostered a sense of camaraderie and mutual respect among the actors. Jackman's demanding fight sequences, combined with Keen's surprising agility, showcased not just their skills, but the trust they had in one another to deliver performances that felt real and impactful. Stewart's portrayal of a vulnerable, aging professor required a different kind of stamina, and the respect for his craft added another layer to the team's dynamic. The shared challenges of filming grueling scenes in often difficult conditions helped to bond the group, adding authenticity to the on-screen relationships. Audience reactions to Logan reflected this powerful chemistry and commitment to storytelling. From its premiere, fans and critics alike praised the film's departure from typical superhero formulas, highlighting the deeply human performances as its greatest asset. Jackman's final bow was seen as a fitting and emotional farewell, with many expressing gratitude for the nuanced portrayal of a beloved character finally allowed to grow old and face his demons. Patrick Stewart's return was equally celebrated, with audiences moved by his portrayal of loss and frailty. And for many, Dafne Keen's Laura became an instant fan favorite, a symbol of hope and resilience. The critical reception underscored the film's success in blending raw emotion with thrilling action. Reviewers frequently noted how the cast's chemistry elevated the film beyond genre expectations, turning it into a character-driven narrative that resonated on a universal level. This praise translated into awards buzz and strong fan engagement, with many praising the film as one of the best superhero movies ever made, not just for its spectacle, but for its heart. Fan engagement extended well beyond the theater, as social media buzzed with discussions about the performances and relationships portrayed. Online communities celebrated Jackman's career and the passing of the torch to Keen's character, sparking debates and fan theories that kept the film alive in conversations for years. The chemistry between the leads became a popular topic in interviews, podcasts, and fan forums, where the emotional authenticity of their performances was continually highlighted. Behind the scenes, stories of mutual support among the cast helped humanize the production. For instance, Jackman's well-known dedication to his role involved intense physical training and careful self-care, which Keen admired and emulated. Stewart's openness about the emotional demands of revisiting Charles Xavier's struggles created a safe space on set for vulnerability. These personal connections and shared experiences contributed to a film environment where the actors could deliver some of their most memorable work. The set dynamics also reflected the film's tone, a mix of gritty realism and heartfelt humanity. The crew often worked in remote, sometimes harsh locations, mirroring the characters' struggles. This physical setting reinforced the immersive experience for the cast, who spoke about how it helped ground their performances. The deliberate pacing of the shoot, allowing for moments of quiet reflection amidst intense action, enabled the actors to explore their characters' emotional journeys fully. As Logan continued to influence the superhero genre, its cast chemistry became a benchmark for future films seeking to balance action with emotional resonance. The film demonstrated how deeply connected performances could transform familiar characters into fully realized, complex people. This approach shifted audience expectations, encouraging a desire for stories that prioritize character growth and relationships alongside thrilling visuals. In summary, The powerful chemistry between Hugh Jackman, Patrick Stewart, and Dafne brought Logan's story to life in a way that felt both authentic and emotionally profound. The supportive and collaborative environment on set fostered performances that resonated strongly with audiences and critics alike. The film's lasting impact owes much to these connections, which transformed what could have been a simple action movie into a deeply moving farewell to beloved characters and a hopeful look toward the future. Logan stands as a remarkable milestone in superhero cinema, not just for its thrilling action and stunning visuals, but for the way it redefined what a comic book movie could be. At its heart, it is a deeply human story about aging, loss, redemption, and the ties that bind us. The film's power comes from its willingness to show its heroes in moments of vulnerability, to explore their pain and regrets without shying away from the raw, sometimes brutal realities they face. This honesty is what sets Logan apart from so many other entries in the genre, offering a narrative that feels both personal and universal. From Hugh Jackman's weary but still fiercely protective Wolverine, to Patrick Stewart's fragile yet brilliant Charles Xavier, and Dafne Keenan's fierce, silent Laura, the film's characters are brought to life with a depth and complexity that resonates long after the credits roll. Their intertwined journeys reveal themes of family, legacy, and the hope for a better future amidst overwhelming darkness. These are stories about more than just superpowers. They are about what it means to be human. The world-building in Logan also deserves recognition for its grounded, gritty tone. The barren landscapes and sparse settings mirror the characters' internal struggles and create a haunting atmosphere of loss and isolation. This setting becomes almost a character itself, amplifying the themes of survival and extinction that pulse throughout the story. The subtle symbolism woven into every frame, whether in Logan's claws, the decaying state of Charles, or the hope embodied by Laura and the other children, invites viewers to engage deeply with the narrative on multiple levels. Moreover, the film's bold approach to storytelling, balancing intense action with quiet emotional beats, transforms it into a genre-defying experience. The raw, visceral fight scenes are not just spectacles of violence. They are charged with emotional stakes that elevate every punch and wound. These moments of conflict reveal not only physical endurance, but also the characters' internal battles, making each encounter meaningful and heart-wrenching. Beyond the narrative and performances, Logan also made a lasting impact on audiences and critics, opening the door for superhero films that embrace darker, more mature themes without losing their heart. It showed that audiences crave complex characters and stories that challenge them emotionally and intellectually. The film's success helped shift the cultural conversation around comic book movies, proving that these stories can be profound reflections on life, identity, and humanity. The chemistry between the cast members, the thoughtful direction, and the heartfelt script all came together to create a film that feels both like a tribute and a new beginning. It honors decades of storytelling while boldly carving out its own space, blending nostalgia with innovation. This balance makes Logan not only a fitting farewell to beloved characters but also a beacon of what superhero cinema can aspire to be. For viewers, Logan is more than entertainment. It is an invitation to reflect on our own struggles with aging, loss, and the hope for redemption. It encourages us to consider the legacies we leave behind and the families we choose along the way. These themes give the film a timeless quality, ensuring that it will continue to resonate with audiences for years to come. So if you found yourself moved by this exploration, if Logan's story touched your heart or made you think in new ways, then you're in the right place. There's a whole world of cinema filled with hidden depths, unforgettable characters, and stories that can change how we see ourselves and the world around us. If you love this breakdown, give the video a thumbs up and subscribe for more deep dives into the world of cinema. Let's keep exploring movies together, uncovering every layer and sharing the magic of storytelling.